did you hear? I started this stream with the weirdest stomach noise. Ooh. All right, how's everybody doing? This is Ian, and it's time to party. So, we're gonna dive right into this, and I'm just gonna start talking. And you guys, you're on Slack, so if you have any questions, it's delayed by, I don't know how long it's delayed by. Let's call it 5 seconds. Let's call it 6 seconds. And let me make sure this is actually working real quick. It should be. I hit the stream button. Am I actually streaming? It says it's still waiting for me, which is so strange. Have I failed this live stream? I don't know. Maybe I did. Okay. What in the world? So that did go for... I'm so confused. Am I even actually live streaming right freaking now? Okay, nope. According to this, I am live. So I've been live on YouTube, but not for my event. So that's great. I've been live for 5 minutes. How amazing. Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, so this should be live. At this point in my life, I should be live. I should be on a webcam. Everybody should see me. I'm just going to keep talking. Okay, sweet. Tim's got me, which is great. Yes, this is why I'm called Bearded Audio. It's because of beard. I can literally never shave. Okay, cool. You guys can see me. That's great. Thanks. I appreciate the compliment on my beard. I'm going to dive... right. Well, actually, no. First, I'm going to go over what my setup is. I don't do a lot of this, so I just recently got a Zoom H2N, which is, oh, yeah, no. West Coast is best coast. So I just got this guy, the Zoom H, well, now you can't really hear me because I turned it around. The Zoom H2N. Which is a freaking sweet audio recorder. It's not supposed to be a USB mic. Well, at least it's not its main feature, but it has that application, and I think it sounds super good. And I forgot to bring a mic stand home, so normally I would sound like this, and I can get real close, and I could whisper so quietly, and it would be amazing. But... I didn't have a mic stand, or I didn't bring it home from work, so it's on a little stand, which is why when I type, it's gonna sound like that. I'm not Rasputin. but I've been to the Rasputin music store in Walnut Creek, California, I think is where it's at. Anyways, so the Zoom, I absolutely love it. It's pricey, but because it's a standalone recorder, so you could take it to live events. I could do it to just record like my acoustic out in the living room without actually attaching it to a computer. It's got up to it's 4 different microphone pickup patterns. So you could do like a group thing, like an interview thing. You could do, right now I'm doing MS, which is mid-side. I won't go into all that blah, 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 blah. I don't know what was sexy. Oh, the whispering probably. See, I don't know. The delay is kind of killer. At least I'm assuming it was the whispering. So I'm going to dive right in so I use Reaper, and I'm going to switch from my webcam to my desktop. So it's going to look super weird at first. So this is called OBS. For live streaming, it is the bomb. I highly recommend it. Get it. So this is Reaper. I am currently recording into Reaper. And my setup, one of the reasons why I love Reaper is when you record into Reaper, you can actually use plugins, which are things like EQ, compression. There are things, a plugin comes from like the old school terminology, right? Like you're plugging into a compressor, you're plugging into an EQ, you're plugging into a distortion pedal, whatever, they're plugins. You can use them like outboard gear or like analog gear, so that when I record, so I'm not recording right now, but you're hearing everything like I'm going through all this stuff. So this is all my fancy blah blah crap, whatever. So all this is a gain stage. So if I turn it down, it goes down. It's a volume knob. That's all the first one is. The second one is a virtual preamp. Totally not necessary for podcasting, but I use it on everything I record. So it basically emulates different consoles. This is EQ right here, super old school EQ, and this is a compressor. And because it's just a voice and it's a podcasting voice, yeah, I know, I'm a Mac guy, whatever. My audio is out of sync. Oh, how bad? Is it like super bad? I'm curious about the delay. I'm going to wait until maybe half a second delay. Okay, no, you already answered that question. That's annoying. Okay, well, at this point it shouldn't matter because you don't see my face. Anyways, this is EQ, blah, blah. This is the compressor. So if I turn this up, you'll hear it compressing the room. And eventually the dial will start turning and it's ridiculous. But I don't need to compress it that much, so I'm not going to. But anyways, the whole reason I brought this up, I love Reaper because when I hit record, my voice is going to travel through the trimmer, virtual channel, the equalizer, and the compressor, and then start recording, versus me doing that after it's already been recorded, if that makes any sense. So it's like I was super old school and recording to tape or something. Mac interfaces, are you talking about the plugins? Or are you talking about Reaper? Reaper looks like it's from the 90s. But that's okay because I love it. I'm waiting for Tim's response. Reaper, yeah, Reaper is available for PC. Reaper is, it's kind of a weird workaround. It's kind of free. It's a full demo that never expires. And basically it's like if you, I think all you're seeing is just Reaper. It looks like PC. Like it looks like it should be on a PC. It doesn't look like GarageBand. It doesn't look like Logic. It is built technically for PC first. And so it's very open source. Reaper does whatever you want it to. That's why I freaking love it. But anyways, if you want to buy it, Like if your conscience tells you I should buy this, and I've made money, you know, doing audio stuff, so like I should buy this. It's $60, so it is not expensive at all. Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna go into EQ compression. I'm not going to. I'm gonna try to not go too deep on anything, and like hurt brains. So we're gonna start with EQ, and then remind me, Derek and Tim, what do you guys use for recording again? I want to say Audacity, but I can't remember. I'm gonna wait till you tell me. Reaper, like I said, Reaper will do anything you want it to do. Reaper is free. It's literally a conscience thing. So I have that little thing that goes across the top that says it's licensed to me. And because I do live streaming, because I've recorded videos for mixing and mastering and stuff. Okay, so use Audacity. Cool. We'll go over Audacity in a little bit. But because I've made money, and it's obvious I've made money, like good money, using Reaper, I bought it because I don't want you to be like, oh, no, I haven't paid for it. But anyways, yeah, so Reaper, it's technically not free, but it's a demo that never ends. And so, yeah, there's so many people that use Reaper and have never paid for it. And yeah, so you could download it from free. I don't know if it's Reaper.com. It might be. Let me hang on. Let's go to Reaper.com. I don't think it's Reaper.com. Reaper Enterprises. It's definitely not Reaper.com. DAW, meaning Digital Audio Workstation. If you're recording other people from Skype, you use Amolto. Hang on, let me read your question. So Reaper will take multiple inputs from whatever you want. And there's something else I'm going to mention here called Soundflower, which is what I'm using right now. And Soundflower, it might be Mac only. But there's tons of stuff that's PC that work just like it, that can connect different programs together audio-wise. Move Voice Recorder probably works okay, but then I'm assuming you're using your phone, which can be Amolto, I will have to look at to see if you can output from Amolto, or something like that, if that makes sense. So anyways, here's Reaper. Reaper.fm. That's why. Okay, so you just hit download Reaper, and Windows, depending on your system right here, this is me right here. You download it, it's full, right? And they come up with new features all the time. It's a video editor. It's awesome. I can't sing the praises enough. And I've used Pro Tools. I've used Audition. I've used I'm blanking on like every other DAW out there, but Reaper is like my go-to. I love it. This entire process, people recording the system together. Okay. The entire process, in my ideal world, editing a podcast. Let me switch back to the webcam here. So, well, I'm not going to because it's out of sync. My ideal world is people recording themselves separately, and then I get all of those files. Like, so with Random Chatter 142, you know, I had the Skype recording, but I also had Liz's her mic, and I had Tim's mic, and I'm totally spacing on homie's name because I'm such a jackass. The other dude. I'm sure you guys will correct me in a second. And so I had all 3 of their microphones, and I can kind of merge them all together, and it sounds, and I can make, the goal is to try and make it sound like they're all in the same room. Like that's what I am trying to do. I don't want to make it sound like it's obviously someone from the East Coast talking to someone on the West Coast. I'd like to make it sound like they're right next to each other. Oh, here comes Tim telling me Lou. That's right, good old Lou. And so, anyways, let's. I don't want this to go super long. Continue to ask all of your questions. I will answer them to the best of my ability, which hopefully is pretty good. Oh, snap. All right. We're gonna go into EQ. All right. So I'm just going to type in EQ. So I will do this. I've obviously got you 2 guys watching, and apparently nobody else. That's okay. If I say EQ, what does that mean? What do you guys, when you hear that term EQ, what does that mean in the world of recording podcasts? Oh, dude, you could hear birds in the background. It's so nice. Yeah, so it's an equalizer. But what the heck is an equalizer? What's it equalizing? Is it like the Terminator? Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's a very important aspect of the fine-tuning of audio, Tim. Good answer. Audio levels is also incredibly broad, but not actually wrong. So EQ, yeah, so when you're equalizing, it's kind of a funny term because the perfect EQ is kind of relative. So when you're saying, I'm going to equalize something, that could mean so many different things depending on what you're actually affecting. And this EQ is, Derek, when I say EQ, I'm talking about per channel. So like, I'm talking about EQ for Liz. I'm talking about EQ for Joelle and Chris and Tim. And I've already forgotten his name. Just kidding, Lou. I love you. Per channel, so it's not what you're thinking. I think, Derek, is mixing. So if I brought up the mixer in Reaper, it would be like this, right? So if I had a bunch of different channels and I had everybody else in different channels, I could go like this, and change the volume for everybody. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to kill those. All right, so EQ. Let's dive right into it. EQ is really, actually, Tim said it really well. It's fine-tuning audio. So if I dive into a very basic EQ, which is Reaper's built-in EQ, you can see what's called a spectrum of every frequency you're hearing as I'm talking into this. And at any point, stop me if I'm confusing or not making any sense. And actually, I'm going to stop again and say the whole reason I'm doing this is because so many of you guys are recording into your own software with your own microphones, and EQ and compression are the 2 most important tools to know about. And it's kind of like if I died tomorrow and I only ever edited for, I think my phone's too close to the microphone, so it's buzzing it. Which is another. Okay, let me finish this thought. If I died tomorrow, you guys would at least know a little bit of what I knew about EQ and compression. That's why I'm doing this, right? It's like, oh, we hired Ian. He was so great for 4 episodes. Then he died. Yeah, and so another thing is when you were recording, I haven't heard enough of this for it to be an issue, but if your phone is too close to your USB microphone and you receive a text or something, it could be intercepted by your microphone because it's all digital and screw it up. So let's keep going. EQ. I will first show you what EQ does by affecting myself live, right? So I'm going to come in here. There's EQ. Bada boom, bada bing. The first thing I'm going to do is say the most important thing you could do is learn what a high-pass filter is. So a high-pass filter lets you decide how much of the high frequencies you're going to hear. So if I take this and I start moving it up, you can very clearly hear how that's affecting what I'm saying, right? So this is, on the left, you got the 50. It technically goes down to 20. Yeah, if I die, it's probably because Lou killed me. So all the way down here, 20 hertz is the lowest a human can hear. Most people probably can't hear but below 40 to 50. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz is the highest you can hear, right? So now I'm going to select this node right here. I'm going to change it to be a low-pass filter, which is the opposite of a high-pass filter, which might make sense. And now you'll hear it do the opposite, where when I bring it down, all you're hearing is the low parts of my voice, right? So really, the envelope to an Audacity, no. It is not an envelope. At least I don't think it is. And we'll get to Audacity in a little bit, because Audacity is cool, but I think if Reaper and Audacity are both free, everyone should use Reaper. Because Audacity does stuff in a very primitive way. So an envelope would be like, if I'll show you what an envelope is real quick. Oops, wrong button. If I recorded this real quick, right? So if I go boom, boom, and now I'm recording myself. Here we go. Blah, 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 blah. This is me just recording, so there's something there. I'm going to say yes, save that. I'll play it back. Boom, boom. And now I'm recording myself. Yay. Envelopes, right? So here you see envelope for track 1. Okay. These are all options for an envelope, and it's kind of convoluted and crazy looking. But I would just select volume. And now what I can go and do is actually place a bunch of different points along this guy and raise and lower volume level. So now if I play it back, and now I'm recording myself, here we go, blah, 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 blah. This is me just recording, so there's something there. So that's basically just the volume along that track. That's what an envelope is. Yeah, Reaper is way more powerful. I would say stop wasting your time with Audacity and just dive into Reaper. Because for what you do, like, Reaper goes deep. Like, you can go so deep. But with what you do, you're really just skimming the surface, and so I don't think you need to worry about it. If you're going to learn how to do something, just learn how to do it in Reaper. Because you'll thank yourself later. So anyways, back to EQ. For me, the only thing that really ever I'm concerned about, and the thing that I do on basically every audio track I get, is the high pass filter. And for voices, I will bring it about right up here. And you know, so I'll bring the node to the 100, and I might even bring it up here. Like, and even then, if I keep going, you can't really tell I'm doing anything till about right here, right? That's where you can kind of tell something's happening. Because when somebody's speaking, I don't care about, super low stuff. We're not using subs. We're not doing anything like that. And so I just want to cut all that out. I don't even want to hear it. Lou tends to have, and I'm not trying to pick on Lou, but he tends to have a more nasally voice, which is totally fine. Everyone's got a different voice. And so if you hear it, so here's, if I boost this, you'll kind of hear how that's affecting everything that I'm saying right here. So with Lou, a lot of the nasal is around 800 hertz. And so I'll find 800 hertz about right here, and I'll bring it down a little bit. And that's this. I mean, this is what the EQ looks like for when I get Lou's tracks. Pretty much right here. The only time I'll really use a low pass filter is on a Skype call, because it tends to be more high pitched. There can be a lot more weird digital glitches and stuff like that. So I'll bring it not too extreme, because you go too extreme and suddenly you're right here and it doesn't sound right. And so I'll just do that to kill the super, super, super high-pitched stuff that a lot of people might not even hear. So an EQ, Derek, going back to what you're saying, adjusting levels, that's exactly what an EQ is, except it's adjusting very specific levels in terms of frequency, right? So to give you another idea of what it'll do, or what EQ does, is if I make this super narrow, and then I bring it up here, and I swing it back and forth, you'll hear it as I keep talking. It's probably a bad example because it's just a voice, so it's harder to hear what it's doing. If it was a guitar or something, it'd be more obvious, but I'll widen that up. And you'll hear what this is doing as I'm talking, right? So if I'm here, I'm really boosting the high stuff, and I bring it over, now I'm boosting everything around 2K. Now this is again the nasally kind of part of the human voice, and then the lower part of the human voice, and then here's all the low stuff that I just don't even care to hear. Lou does have a deep voice, but having a deep voice, having a nasally voice and having a deep voice, you can have both. Absolutely, because Lou does tend to have a pretty deep voice, but no human, like, let's go back to this guy, right? So if I go all the way, you can't even hear what I'm saying. If I go all the way down to 200, you're not even going to be able to hear what I'm saying. So here I am. I'm really close to my microphone. Like, none of this matters. None of that frequency information matters for a podcast. So, going back here, if I bring this up farther and farther and farther, if someone's listening on their phone, at this point, they don't care. They're going to notice, like, right here, oh, that sounds wrong. But there's all of this frequency information that I just don't give a crap about because it's a podcast. If it was music, totally different story. If it's a kick drum, totally different story. For a voice, doesn't matter. For most girls that are talking, they tend to have sharper S's, and so I would bring in something like another node like this guy, and come up to like 2K right here, because this, if I got S's, this is where you're really going to hear it. I'll bring it down just a little bit, just to help with that sharp sound. So no one's in their car going, oh my God, my ears are bleeding. Does this make sense? I'm going to wait for you guys to answer in Slack. I want to make sure that EQ is kind of, if you've got any other questions, I'm trying to kind of describe it as best as I can. So I'm going to wait for either of you to respond. I don't know how many people are still watching. I got 4 people watching. It's technically public, because if I did private, it wasn't giving me a link to share. So I don't know who all's watching, but there's apparently 4 people. Oh, I guess I would be one of those people, wouldn't I? There's only 3 people watching. How sad. So I'm gonna wait for a response on Slack. Let me know if you guys have any other questions about EQ, what you can do with EQ, Yeah, and at the same time, I also don't know how far you guys are behind my live stream right now. Derek, it could totally be overhead. I just wait till we get to compression, because EQ it doesn't take too long to wrap your mind around. Compression is another thing. Okay, cool. So Tim gets it. And for anybody else, you know, I'll post this later because I'll download it and make sure it's accessible to everybody. Anytime you guys have a question, dude, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll help you out. So that's EQ, and EQ comes in a lot of different forms. So I guess I won't stop there, right? So if I go back to my fancier, sexier looking plugins, this is an EQ, right? Totally different looking, but still super effective, right? So with this one, you can only select specific frequencies. With this one, I could select any one I want to, right? It's a sliding scale. I could go wherever I want. I could go down here and type, oh man, 1200 hertz sounds real bad. Let's go to that. And at the same time, did I just delete it on accident? That was crazy. Let's see if I can undo that. And what's cool about this one too, actually, is it will tell you what musical note it is, which I kind of like. But with this one, you know, it's more like an analog feel. So this is what I like to use for music, because I don't like to be podcasting. I like to be surgical. I like to be very like, this is the frequency I'm hearing. That's what I like. That's what I don't like. With music, I like to mix musically. So I like more old school stuff, whatever. So here you pick a specific frequency and then affect it. So if I boost this, you'll hear now it's more high. And if I cut it, you'll hear it's more low. It works it's just EQ. Works exactly the same as the other thing. It just looks differently. It's got a different algorithm that makes it sound like what it's supposed to be modeling. So it's supposed to model this guy's supposed to model an 1176 compressor, which is probably the most famous compressor in the studio world. So anyways, EQ comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, right? So I could look at, let's look at this guy, sure. I think this might just be a demo. Oh, what just happened? I don't think I've ever used this. This is crazy. What? Oh, dude. Oh, dude. I've never used this before. This is so cool. Oh, man. Well, that's interesting. Anyways, like I was saying, I don't think this is technically EQ. It's a frequency echo. But I guess this is another example of what plugins can do. So let's go ahead and delete that. The other way that EQ comes in is called a band EQ. Let me see if I got a band EQ. 3 band EQ. Here we go. Okay. So here he is right here. That's not a band EQ. That's so ugly. Well, it is a band EQ. This is a built-in Reaper plugin. Reaper plugins tend to just be ugly, which is okay, I guess. It works. So with this one, you have a 4 band EQ. You can only select. All right, so you have 4 total frequencies you can affect. I like that it says loser too. I'm like, oh, thanks. That doesn't make me feel good. But that's not. I need like band pass. Let's try this. No, that's not what I want. Okay, whatever. We're moving past EQ. I've got like 2 EQs that I love, which is why, and that's all I use. That's why I can't find it. But a band EQ. Actually, we could look at a band EQ in Audacity. So when we get there, we'll get there. So let me kill this. All right. So now let's look at compression. So now I'll ask the same question. When you guys hear the term compression, What does that mean? And on top of that, why would it even matter? And I'm going to wait. Again, I have no idea how long I'm going to wait. You might have to like sit there as I'm waiting for you to answer that question. Because it seems like the delay now is significant. I guess I'll probably just have my internet to thank for that. Thanks a lot, Comcast. But let me pull up different compressors while I wait for you guys to respond. Putting audio into a smaller file size. No. I know where your brain's going with that, but that's, in the terms of what we're talking about, that's not what it is. And it's kind of confusing because if I was going to compress a file, that's exactly what it is. If I was going to use compressor to make a video file go from, 20 gigs down to half a gig, that's exactly what it is. But in terms of audio, that's technically not what it is. Tim says bringing the sound levels from different tracks closer to each other. I would call that an auto compressor or an auto leveler, maybe. Because if we're talking about compressing a single track, one voice, that is not what it is. You're thinking about compressing, or again, it's kind of like Derek said earlier with EQ. I could use a mixer to match, different levels with people's voices, right? So if I went, let's do this. So if I go there, what am I doing with my life? If I go down here, let's kill this window, kill this window, kill this window. If I go down here, and let's do this. I'll record something new over here, and it's just going to be me talking like normal. Yes, foiled, both of you. If I just keep talking, there we go. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so that's that. I want to save that. Now I'm going to go down to my other track down here. It's going to be the exact same input. But I just realized you're not going to be able to hear me because of how I have stuff set up. Oh, no, you can still hear me. Okay. But now I don't have any of the effects that I had on this one. So if I record again here, so here's me again record. I'll back away from the microphone a little bit so it's a little quieter. Blah, 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 blah. This is track number 2. All right. So there's that one. And now I'll do another new track. There's a point to all of this, I promise. Okay, so now I'm here. And I'm going to get real close and real... Right, so I'm like, real close, real loud. This is me recording. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Obnoxious, loud sounds. Cool. Boom. All right, now we're back to where I want to be. So now if I take these 3 channels, and let me move this down so it's not so obnoxious and in the way. Get smaller. So I got these 3 channels, right? So let's say this is 3 of you guys hosting a podcast, and I'm playing it at the same time. And it's going to be horrible because it's not a conversation. It's just going to be random noise. But like right, normal, so I'm like, again, real close, real loud. This is me recording. Foiled, both of you. Blah, 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 blah. So obviously this guy down here is the loudest, right? So Tim, earlier you were saying it's like sound levels from different tracks, getting them closer to each other. All I have to do is go down here, and this is this guy, right? And I can also affect the volume right here. And you can see if I twist this knob, it's also affecting this right here. So you can see it's the same thing. So I go, this guy's the loudest, so I'll bring him down. Talking like
Right,
normal.
so
Here's
like,
me again, recording.
close, real
back
loud.
away
This
from
is
the
me
mic. Yes,
recording.
foiled, both of you.
Blah, 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 obnoxious.
So now they actually sound a little bit more even, but this guy is the quietest, so I'll bring him up a little bit, right? How? Let's call it 2 dB. And decibels and audio units is a whole other conversation we could have one day. Talking like
Right,
normal.
so
Here's
like,
me again, recording.
close, real
back
loud.
away from whatever. So now I've got everybody at like a similar volume, right? So that's just mixing. That's not compression at all. So let's go over what compression is. And I will do it live like I did with EQ. So if I look at Reaper's built-in compressor, this is what it looks like. Again, it's not very pretty versus, oh, it's so pretty. I think I just pay money because it's pretty. This is what it is. And what a compressor does, think of it this way. I'm going to switch back to the webcam here so I can try and help you. Oh, it's still off by half a second. Whatever. I'll just talk slowly so it's not affected. I have a waveform. That's the waveform, a bunch of jagged lines. All right? What a compressor does is it says, this is as loud as you can get with a little bit of a buffer. And I have the sound wave come through, and it hits this, and it might go over it just a little bit, but it'll come back down, and it's kind of like hitting a ceiling. If I have, there's compression, there's compressing, and there's limiting. And if I'm limiting something, that's more like that's the limit. You've hit the ceiling, you're not going past it. I'll show you the difference. A compressor is more like a pillow versus a ceiling. And I'm going to switch back from this so that's not horrible and delayed. All right. So, let me pull up a limiter so you can hear what the difference is. We'll use this guy. So we'll start with the compressor. All right. So you have, we're not going to worry about this stuff pre-compressing, or just the pre-compressing. We're not going to worry about that. That's just a unique feature that I never use. You have the attack and the release. Attack is how fast the compressor kicks in, and the release is how fast the compressor stops compressing. So usually with voices, I like it to be like 30 milliseconds, and it's kind of a learned thing, right? No one's going to naturally be like, oh, yeah, well, obviously 30 milliseconds, you know? Like, no, it's just a learned thing. It's like learning history or anything, any other thing. The more you do it, the more you read books, you realize that's kind of where it's at. Release, I never really touch. 100 milliseconds is fine. It doesn't make sense to have a fast release because then it's just going to sound like someone's constantly being punched in the face with a pillow. Kind of. Ratio is basically once it hits that ceiling, ratio is how soft the pillow is, I guess is the best way to put it. So as soon as they hit that ceiling, you're saying, with voices, 3-to-1 is usually pretty good. That's saying if I hit that ceiling, or if I hit that point that the compressor is going to kick in, let's say I went 3 dB, or call it 3 audio units, 3 points of loudness over that ceiling, it's going to compress it down to 1. Or if I go, you can move it to 5, or let's just type in 5, right? As soon as I hit that, if I go 5 dB over, it's going to compress it down to 1. If that makes any sense. And you can go a limiter is when you say, So here's my ceiling, and if the threshold is the point at which it kicks in, and if I turn it, like, this is one of those things too where I'll turn it up and you'll hear what it's doing. And like right now, it's crazy. Right now I'm whispering like 2 feet away from my microphone. With voice, limiting's usually not an issue, but with like drums or a snare, you're absolutely going to want to use it. And basically you're saying as soon as you hit this, that's the ceiling, you're not going any further. So that's the difference between a compressor and a limiter. A limiter says once you hit that ceiling, you're done. A compressor says, okay, you can go over the ceiling, but I'm going to squish you a little bit to, you know, make sure it doesn't get too loud or there's no loud snaps out of nowhere. If I'm making you fall asleep, let me know. I'm about to, or if you have any questions, again, let me know. We're about to dive into hearing what it does live. So a knee, so you have the ratio and then you have the knee. The knees, think of it like a literal knee, like a knee joint. And it's super hard to visualize without, let me pull up a different compressor. Apple has usually pretty good, well, maybe they don't have a compressor they want to use. Let's just see here. No, that's not going to be what I want. Let's try this guy. Let's see if we can visualize the knee. All right, there we go. Perfect. So there's the knee. The knee is this guy right here. And all the knee is, and you can see this is the signal. This guy right here is the signal. Let's bump the ratio. This is probably a better, maybe I should just start with this guy. This is a better visualization of what a compressor is doing, right? So here's my audio. It's not being compressed right now because the red line is the threshold. The red line is saying that's where it's going to kick in, right? So, and I'm not anywhere near it, so it's not even a thing. Like nothing's being compressed right now. The ratio is, you can see right here, right? Like I was saying, that's how hard or soft the pillow is, right? So if I bring my threshold way the heck down, so now I'm being compressed. Now I am, right? So if I shout, "Hey!" it's not as obvious. Or if I bring this even farther, if I bring the ratio up even higher, you can see it. Like if I'm talking right now, so I'm just talking like at a normal volume. Now I'm gonna yell, "Hey!" It didn't get any louder for you, right? Because it's not allowing my audio to get any louder past that ceiling. And that's what the ratio does. So if I bring it down, let's say it's right. So right here's no ratio. So if I yell, "Hey!" it got louder. If I bring it down to here and I yell, "Hey!" it's at this point it's more than half that volume, right? So a 3-to-1 is usually pretty good as long as it's at the kind of top of where someone's talking, right? So I don't want someone to sound like if I'm right here, let's see, if I'm right here, it sounds like I am always compressed, and that's bad. I don't want to sound like this. That sounds horrible. This sounds natural, and if I get really loud all of a sudden, that's why the compressor exists. Because if I get really loud and excited, I don't want to burn anybody's ears in a car or anything. And so the purpose of a compressor is literally to compress a audio signal. And you can see it go into action on this guy. This is a different style of compressor. This one's way more visual. It's super great. Look up Melda. They're fantastic. They're kind of like Reaper in that I have not purchased any Melda stuff yet. I would love to. I just gotta buy groceries, right? So when I'm live streaming, I get this humiliating upgrade, and you can make this disappear, please. I'm like, sorry, Melda. I'll buy your stuff eventually. So let's go back to this guy. This is, on the left here, you have the audio signal going in. This is the threshold, same thing. So this is saying, once the audio gets there, I want you to kick in, right? So we're doing the 3-to-1 again. Over here, you can see how much that's being lowered, right? So if I talk quietly, nothing's really being affected that much. But if I get really excited about something, then you can see it live, literally pushing down my audio signal so that it doesn't go past a certain volume. And if I took this guy all the way up to infinity, it's basically limiting at that point. It's working like a limiter. It's saying you're not going to get any louder than this. And again, I'll bring it down to like right here. So if I'm whispering just a little bit and I'm clearly at the point, and all of a sudden I get really excited and I start yelling, it doesn't get any louder for you at all. So that's what a compressor is. That's the purpose of it. And then that's compression for, you know, a single voice, which is all I want you guys to really care about. It'd be like, it's one of those things where when you guys are tracking stuff and I'm the one mixing it, you don't have to worry about it a ton. Like when I bring your stuff into Reaper to mix, like I'm automatically throwing EQ on it. I know your guys' voices well enough now to know, like, okay, I'm just going to slap this on and that'll be good for the most part. I'll have to tweak it a little bit. But for anybody else, you're doing your own podcasts, you're doing, you're mixing it yourself, whatever. Like this is mostly who I'm doing it for. But again, if I got a file from you and I thought, oh, I don't have to cut the low end out of this because Tim already did, or Derek already did, or Joel did, or Chris did, then that's sweet. That's a little bit of less work I have to do. And it's just good stuff to know anyways. So we're going to open up Audacity real quick and go into that. So let's discard projects. Yes, I want to discard. I don't care. So here's Audacity. We just got a very important message from Chris. What does it say? What does it say? It's very important, so I'm concerned about this. Import out there. Excludes users. Most of your donors have special permissions. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I don't think that affects what we're doing right now. So here's Audacity, right? So if you're recording something, you're telling it, you know, here's the input. Again, I'll go over Soundflower in a second. Or maybe I should just do another thing on Soundflower because it's not easy to explain what that is. But I can take the output of Reaper, which is what I'm doing right now, and send it into Audacity. And so you can see Audacity recording right now. And the reason why I'm not a huge fan of Audacity is because now we have this, right? The output of Reaper, which is what I'm doing right now, and send it into Audacity. So we have that recording. So Reaper, you can see everything I'm doing live. While I'm compressing something, I can actually see it being compressed live while I'm doing it, right? And in Audacity, you can't do that, which drives me nuts. So I could go to Effects, I can go to EQ, and you have, you know, the ability to do a low roll-off for speech, which is exactly what you can see. It's the exact same thing. A graphic or a band EQ is, oh, you know what? No, it's totally not a band. It's a graphic. That's what I was looking for the whole time, is this guy. So this is a graphic EQ. This is another one that exists that you could see. So what drives me nuts is I can't hear, if I'm doing this, and I can't even listen back to what I'm doing, I did in Audacity. I get an error. It's not even an option. I can't hear it live. I have to hit OK. And then the waveform actually gets affected. So it's called destructive editing. And it's not actually destructive because it's digital. But, you know, I have to, if I don't like what I did on the EQ, I have to hit undo. You know, so I could go EQ. I say, okay, well, that was a little too much. So I'm going to bring that down. Okay. And then I got to go back and listen to it and send it into Audacity and go, oh, that wasn't that great. So now I got to go back in, and it's just, it's annoying. And the same thing. So it's got a compressor, which is great if you want to stick with Audacity. I'm not going to tell you no. But again, with Reaper, you could hear what I was doing live. And with Audacity, I can't do that. I can see this guy very clearly, right? Like, okay, so I can, you know, the noise floor. And I don't even know what it means by noise floor. Like, so that's a whole other thing. Ratio, right? So that was 3-to-1 is what I liked for voices. Attack time is how fast it's going to be, going in or out. It doesn't have milliseconds. Well, I guess it's got milliseconds there, but release time doesn't have milliseconds. There's just, whatever. I'm not a fan of Audacity. But again, if I wanted to compress it, now I say okay, and you can see how it changed that waveform. And now I go back and listen to it, which is what I'm doing right now. Ugh, that was horrible. So I'm going to go back in, and now it just takes way too long. It's stupid. Just use Reaper. And the only way to get back is to hit undo. That's EQ and compression. I hope they make a little bit more sense now. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm going to wait. Again, I'm not sure how long the delay is between what you guys are, what I'm doing, what you guys are hearing. If you have any other questions about just sound in general, neither of you guys use GarageBand, so I'm not going to worry about that. But again, in GarageBand, it looks exactly the same. Here's your EQ. Here's your compressor. It has a little bit more of the old school look to it. So you got your middle frequencies, your low frequencies, your high frequencies. If you want to boost those, turn them up, turn them down. Low cut is, I'd have to check and see, but it's probably about 80 from 0 to probably about 250 hertz that it's cutting out. But it works exactly the same as everything else. Does anybody have any questions? Did both you guys fall asleep? Did I knock you out? I wish there wasn't a delay. That is so annoying. I have no idea how to fix that. I'm assuming the best way to do it is to have it like hardwired Cat 5 into my computer, which I'm just doing it over Wi-Fi. Yeah. I'm going to give it like 30 seconds and I'm going to kill this thing. Oh, Derek's typing. Okay, Derek's good. I'm going to assume Tim's good. Nope, he's with me. Okay, cool. So, sweet. Again, hit me up any time of the day or night. If you have a weird question, hey, I'm in Audacity and it's acting like this. Just shoot me a message or hit me up on Slack, and I will be happy to answer your question. Hopefully this makes a little bit more sense of everything. And yeah, it takes time and practice. Yeah, and the more you do it, the more you'll, I think, get to love it. I went to school for it. I got my bachelor's in it, so I am very familiar with it. But it's, yeah, with a little bit of practice, I think you'll have it down. But that's it. So I'm going to end this stream. Super cool. I'm going to download it. I'm going to put it on, I'll probably just put it in my Dropbox, because I don't know that YouTube's going to save it forever. So I'll download it. I'll have it in my Dropbox. I'll send you guys the link. That's it. All right, cool. Thanks for watching, everybody.